Number 10. The Fox and the Hound 2. In this movie, the little fox and the little hound are best friends and they go to the local county fair. Copper, the hound dog, falls in with a group of singing stray dogs. This tests his friendship with Todd, the fox, but their friendship endures, and in the end, the singing stray dogs get to go to the Grand Ole Opry. Why do people hate this movie? First off, it's a mid-quill. People often don't like those. It means it took place in the middle of the first movie, so Todd and Copper have met, but they haven't grown up. The plot is fairly ridiculous. It's about singing stray dogs in an otherwise realistic world, so that doesn't work too well. Also, just a personal side note, can we get rid of the gun jokes in movies already? There's a lot of them in this movie, and it just doesn't work for me. Now, that said, there are things to like about this movie. Honestly, the animation is pretty good. There are some parts where the 2D elements and the 3D elements clash a little bit, but the character modeling's pretty good. Also, I like the singing dog songs. Reba McEntire, Jeff Foxworthy, and Stephen Root are great. Number 9. Mulan 2. This movie takes place after the original. Mulan and Li Shang are big heroes, and the Emperor sends them on a mission. They need to deliver his daughters to a rival where they will be wedded in arranged marriages to create peace throughout the land. On the way, Mulan, not surprisingly, has a bit of a moral crisis about these arranged marriages, and in the end, everyone stays true to their hearts. Why don't people like this movie? Ultimately, this movie's going for a moral, and they completely screw it up. The intended moral is honor yourself, but the moral that ends up coming across is honor yourself, so long as you end up with a man. Also, in this movie, Mushu is a total jerk now. Furthermore, Mushu is voiced by a white actor doing a black voice. Overall, this movie just plays very offensively loose with Chinese culture. What did we find to like about this movie? Our favorite part was Mulan's dog, Little Brother, voiced by none other than Frank Welker. He's probably most famous as Fred from Scooby-Doo, but he's done a lot of other things as well. He is Megatron from Transformers, Skeeter and Baby Kermit from the Muppet Babies. Also, he is amazing at animal noises. If you hear an animal noise in a movie, it was probably done by Frank Welker. We're talking Cujo in Cujo. He also did the reindeer Prancer in Prancer. Frank Welker was even the monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Number 8. Pocahontas 2: Journey to a New World. Pocahontas thinks her boyfriend John Smith is dead. She becomes an ambassador to England. There's a conspiracy and a bunch of government stuff. She cozies up to John Rolfe, but then finds out, John Smith isn't really dead. Why do people hate this movie? As you might have been able to tell from my plot synopsis, this movie is excruciatingly boring. It feels like a political science textbook. Even the animated faces look bored. What do we like about this movie? Actually, we really love the Things Are Not What They Appear song. David Ogden Stiers as Governor Ratcliffe is so evil, and it really comes through in this song. Number 7. Lady and the Tramp 2: Scamp's Adventure. Lady and the Tramp have a kid named Scamp. Scamp yearns for adventure, so he joins up with the Junkyard Dogs. He gets into some trouble, and he learns that his dad, Tramp, used to be a junkyard dog too. The father and the son bond over this fact, but then they eventually realize that the best place is with family. Why don't people like this movie? Well, first off, Scamp is a puppy. And there's a love interest in this movie, Angel, and she admits at some point she's had like 5 families. So she's probably an adult dog, right? So what's up with her crush on Scamp? Scott Wolf, also an adult, is the voice of Scamp. That doesn't work. Ultimately, the moral of this story is don't be a homeless dog. And that's just a little bit insensitive to homeless dogs. There are, however, things to like about this movie. The sequel captures some of the emotion of the original, like, is it better to be free or tied down? Ultimately, the family dynamic in this movie really works. We can really feel the characters' personal dilemmas. Number 6. Kronk's New Groove. In this movie, Kronk's father comes for a visit, and Kronk wants to make him proud. To do this, he joins Yzma in a snake oil scam of old people. Meanwhile, he falls in love with a camp counselor at Camp Chipamunk named Miss Birdwell. In the end, Kronk takes care of the old people and makes his dad proud. Why people don't like it. This movie is kind of a mess. The acts and stories just really don't fit together. There are moments where they're doing the flashback within a flashback, and it just gets confusing. The movie tries really hard to recreate the energy and the pace of the first film, but it doesn't work. There's just not enough David Spade in this movie. That said, the movie does have some redeeming qualities. The movie has a good moral, and that is that wealth is found in friendship and kindness and not material things. Also, Patrick Warburton is always good. Number 5. Leroy and Stitch. This is the third Lilo and Stitch movie and serves as the conclusion to the Lilo and Stitch series. In this movie, Lilo, Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley capture all the genetic experiments. At some point they split up, go on to their dream jobs, and realize after being apart, Ohana is more important. Why people don't like it. This movie commits a cardinal sin in that it has its characters behave out of character. At some point, Stitch leaves Lilo to captain a big red battleship. Would he really leave her? Isn't loyalty, like, their thing? But there are still things to like. As a series finale, this is a lot of fun. You get to see all the experiments use their special powers. And Jeff Bennett as Dr. Hamsterville is actually a really funny character. Number 4. Bambi 2. This is another midquill, and as we mentioned, people don't like midquills. This one takes place after Bambi's mom dies, but before Bambi grows up. This movie is about Bambi being raised by his father and learning hard life lessons. And, spoiler alert, Bambi's father learns a few lessons too. Why people don't like it. This movie tried really hard to emulate the animation of the original movie, which is beyond compare. So it fell short, and understandably, people were a little miffed about that. The relationship that this one establishes between Bambi and his father just doesn't line up with the little bit of the relationship that we see in the original movie. People really like the fact that nature is kind of a character in the first movie, and they just don't do that at all in this movie. Nature is just a background here. But, as with all of these sequels, there are still things to like. This movie takes characters that we already know and it adds some depth to them without dramatically changing the personalities. Also, the watercolor backgrounds are really pretty, and Thumper, everyone's favorite, remains as funny and charming as always. Number 3. The Little Mermaid 2. Return to the Sea. Eric and Ariel have a baby named Melody who longs to be in the sea. Melody does not know her mother was a mermaid, and her mother forbids her to be in the sea. Ursula's sister, Morgana, comes back for revenge and, surprise, surprise, gives Melody a fishtail. In the end, Ariel and Melody resolve their differences, and Morgana is defeated. Why people don't like it. First off, why does Ariel hide that she was a mermaid? That is the central conflict in this movie, and it makes absolutely no sense. It's not explained at all. Also, Morgana is just a skinny Ursula. It's even the same voice actor. Grown-up Flounder is just weird, and Scuttle seems mentally ill now. That said, there are a couple things to like about this movie. Melody is an independent female leading character, just like Ariel was. Eric and Ariel appear to have gotten to know each other in this movie through conversations and whatnot, which, quite frankly, is an improvement over the original film. Number 2. Return to Neverland. Wendy is grown up, and her daughter Jane is a very sensible young lady. She does not believe in Peter Pan or fairies. Jane is kidnapped by Captain Hook, rescued by Peter Pan, and becomes the first ever lost girl. Why don't people like it? First off, this movie really lacks the depth of the original. There's not much about the pull between childhood and adulthood that was so poignant in the first one. Also, Hook is not much of a villain in this movie. He is not scary at all. There are, however, some things to like. Like the original, there were some depictions of Native Americans planned for this movie, but they were cut out almost entirely due to controversy. This movie's only 72 minutes long, and I like short movies, especially when I'm making a video like this. Number 1. Belle's Magical World. This movie is a kind of sequel to Beauty and the Beast. It is actually a collection of 4 short stories. The first, The Perfect Word, is about a date between Belle and the Beast. The second, Fifi's Folly, is about a date between the candlestick Lumiere and the feather duster Fifi. The third, Mrs. Potts's Party, is about the servants trying to plan a party for a depressed Mrs. Potts without waking the Beast. The fourth, The Broken Wing, is about Belle saving an injured bird who the Beast either wants to get rid of or keep in a cage. Why people don't like it. There are plenty of reasons. This is yet another midquel that takes place after Belle is captured and imprisoned in the castle, but before she and the Beast fall in love. Every single story in this movie is about bickering and backstabbing. Disney has a little bit of a problem with gender stereotyping, especially in its earlier movies, and this movie is that at its absolute worst. For example, Fifi's Folly is all about Fifi trying to make Lumiere jealous. In most of these stories, the Beast is awful, with pretty much no redeeming qualities, and as a result, Belle just seems defeated and deflated in almost all of them. So what do we like about this movie? Nothing! We have literally no idea what Disney was thinking when it put this sequel together. This is honestly just a horrendous movie. You should not watch it. Even the animation is a giant fail. It's completely uneven and at times just straight up derpy. So in that sense, another thing I like about this movie is that it is great fodder for never pause a Disney movie memes. Like this one. And this one. And this one right here. I also like this one. Here's a good one. Ooh, another good one. So there you have it, Disney's top 10 worst sequels. Do all of them really deserve a place on this list? I don't think so. For some of them, their only crime is that their original was a masterpiece. Would you have included all these movies on the list? Are there ones you would add? Let us know in the comments. So until next time, thumb, sub, bell, Disney Plus rabbit hole. Farewell.